story of George Reisner's life takes us all over the world. Begins with his ancestors in Worms, Germany, ends up in the American Midwest, where he's born in Indianapolis. Then it's on to Harvard University in Cambridge, Massachusetts, on to Berlin, back to Harvard, and then here to Cairo. And it's in Egypt that he spent most of his life, Egypt and the Sudan, with just one interlude in 1909 and 1910, excavating in Samaria in Palestine. So I'm here in Cairo on his trail, basically trying to visit or revisit some of the sites where he spent an awful lot of his time, made some of his greatest discoveries, and some of the triumphs and tragedies that befell his life and career took place here as well.
Reisner's overall impact? Well, it was huge. He revolutionized how we excavate. He reconstructed Egyptian history of the Pyramid Age. He established Nubian studies to the south of Egypt. And he trained Westerners and Egyptians, who then worked at other sites all over the world.
So in this series of short videos, we'll travel mostly to the Giza pyramids, but a few other locations too, and try to visit some of the areas where great discoveries were made, great events took place. Harvard Camp was built. That's the dig house on the west side of the Giza pyramids, where Reisner enjoyed his view of the sunset of the pyramids on that wonderful veranda for most of his life over many decades. That was the main home that he ever knew from about 1903 all the way to his death in 1942. In between all of that, of course, there was much travel back and forth to the United States, to be a curator at the Museum of Fine Arts in Boston and a professor at Harvard University. He traveled all the way to San Francisco twice at the behest of Phoebe Apperson Hearst, his first patron and sponsor of the Hearst expedition from 1899 to 1904. But the rest of his life was spent directing the Harvard University Boston Museum of Fine Arts expedition from 1905 until his death in 1942. And the dig didn't really shut down officially until 1947. So join me as we visit some of these locations and try to get a flavor for what archaeology was like here in Egypt in the early half of the 20th century, how it has changed, what went right, what went wrong, and we'll try to get a balanced assessment of this man, warts and all, and re-explore the life of George Reisner, Egyptologist and archaeologist.